that people can be convincing even when they don't know what they're talking about. That's the idea. And whether you believe in God or not believe in God, some people can really be convincing in what they're trying to tell you, right? And lately, many people have been trying to convince the world that God doesn't exist. We don't need him, basically. They've written books, they've made movies, they've done just about everything they possibly could, okay? So the first thing we need to understand is that everybody needs to be loved, respected, and has dignity. So I would never go up to an atheist and tell them, you're wrong, and this is why, and that, because you're not going to win anybody by yelling. Did you say what? You're not going to win anybody in an argument, right? So I believe in God. I believe in angels and in everything that God has revealed to us, either through his word or through his church. I believe that without an understanding or a misunderstanding of God, our world will suffer. It will suffer. There's no question, and I think we see that in a variety of different places in the world. So during this talk, I'd like to show you some of the arguments for and against God. But in the end, it's up to you to make the decision. How you believe, what you believe, and why you believe it. Because likely, you will be asked to defend it, right? That seems to be what's going on right now in our society. We're being asked to defend our belief in God, okay? Click. How about if I just say click? Okay, so a few definitions. Atheist. Can we move the screen down because all of the titles are going to be right there. We can move it down a little bit. Well, you know, don't have to. Absolutely have to happen, but if we can move it. Perfect. Cool. Wonderful. So we don't look too far. Okay, so definition. So an atheist, a person who believes that there is no God. Okay? Just no creator. Right? Sorry.
I'm learning that in school.
Perfect. Then you can help us as we ask for your input. I like that.
Don't you go to St. Peter's?
Click.
Yeah.
Questions after, please.
An agnostic. Okay, a lot of these definitions get thrown out, and I'm this or I'm that, and some people may or may not really know what they're saying. So these are all out of Webster's Dictionary or off Wikipedia or whatever. They're all legitimate definitions. So an agnostic is a person who believes that it is impossible to know whether or not there is a God. So he's just not sure, right? He doesn't think you could ever prove that there's a God. Okay, click. A deist. A deist is a person who believes that there is a God because he sees order in nature. But he doesn't actually follow any formal religion. Okay? Click. A theist is a person who believes in one God who is personal, created the world, and operates within it. Okay? There's polytheists, too, who believe in a multitude of gods. Right? But we're not talking about them today. But they are also considered theists. So what do we believe about God? So I'm going to ask you this question. I don't want you to click. I'm going to ask you this question. What are words that you've used to describe God? Because he's your God. You had to have described him, or people have described him to you. Steve, give me one word only.
Trinity.
A trinity, okay? A word that you've used to describe God?
Love.
Love, okay. God is love. I've heard that. John wrote about it.
Hope.
Hope, okay. Haven't had that one described, yes?
Merciful.
Merciful, so his character. We're describing those things that we see that he plays out. Yes?
Gracious.
Gracious, okay. Have you ever heard that he's the Almighty? Click. How about omnipotent?
Yes.
Right? We've used that word quite often. Omnipotent, all-powerful with no limits. Because if you have to defend him, you have to know what we think of him. What do we actually, how do we describe as Catholics, as Christians, generally speaking, God? Okay, click. Omniscient. He knows all things. There's nothing that you can tell him that he doesn't already know. So if you ever get into the conversation, he already knows what you're thinking. You've lost the argument already, trust me. Okay, click. Omnipresent, which means he's everywhere at all times, everywhere in his creation that he would want to be. Some people speak of hell as the place where God removes himself. Interesting concept, but only theoretical, right? Click. We also understand him as immortal, which means he is living forever, right? Click. Infinite. He has no limits, and he has no beginning or end. Hence the reason he describes himself as the Alpha and the Omega, the start and the finish of the Greek alphabet. Okay, click. The perfection of goodness. I asked my daughter to describe God, my 17-year-old, and she said, he's the perfection of goodness. And I like that. It's a nice description. Click. The creator of all things from nothing. So if there was nothing and he created everything from it, that's what we believe. Yeah.
That's true, because that's
Excellent.
how Big Bang.
Click. We'll get to the Big Bang. Pure spirit, right? He can take on a body if he wanted to, but in his own essence, pure spirit. Okay, click. Unchanging.
Just leave your question till after.
If he's perfect, he has no reason to change. He can never get better or worse, never sick, never tired, or anything. He just doesn't change. He can't if he's perfect and infinite. Okay? Click. So what are the arguments for atheism? So we hear about them, they are there, right? And a really, really smart guy, about 700 years ago, figured it out as to what are the two main arguments for atheism. One is, an all-good, infinite, and loving creator would not allow suffering and evil in their creation. Just wouldn't, right? If he's all good and infinitely good, there could not be evil or suffering. Therefore, an all-good and infinitely good creator wouldn't allow evil in his creation. Click. And the creation of everything, there's really only two reasons, only really two main foundational reasons for atheism. The creation of everything that exists can be explained by natural forces, right? And a lot of people, a lot of atheists, bring out evolution, number one, and the Big Bang, right? They don't go much deeper than that. They say the words and they get a little surface understanding of it, but after that, they kind of give up, right? So the first one is incredibly emotional. You can understand it, right? And the second is generally science looking for answers that they want to find, okay? And that's kind of not the right way science is supposed to be. Click. So, first argument, an all-good, infinite, and loving creator would not allow suffering and evil in their creation. This is a really tough one, and I've actually had to deal with it with a friend of mine. Two now, okay? The one man lost his father, and he suffered greatly before he passed away. And he was sure that no God could ever let that happen to his dad. No way. And he fell away. He didn't just fall away from the church, he fell away with a vengeance from the church. Because he said, there can't be a loving God if he allowed that to happen to my dad, right? Dealt with a woman just recently, right, who deals with abused kids. She said, how can a loving God allow this suffering, this torture, this torment in the life of a child? And she's right. How can he is the huge question, right? So whenever you're dealing or confronted with this type of response or this type of reasoning, tread very carefully. Because first thing you have to know is that they're probably suffering something themselves, okay? There's a personal suffering going on here. That's his dad, that's that child, that's whoever. But they are feeling something here, right? It could be someone close to them, it could be who they work with. So what do we have to do? How do we combat this? Click. The first step is we must love them. God said, love everybody, including your enemies. No question about it. The way we conceive of God, God is all loving. We could do no better than to love them first, right? Find out what's going on in their life, right? Find out if we can help. You'd be surprised how many people are turned to tears just asking if you can pray with them. It's an amazing thing. It takes a lot of courage, though, to actually ask somebody if you can pray with them. And it might get thrown back in your face. And I've had it thrown back in my face, right? That won't do any good. Done, right? There's not a lot you can do, okay? Suffering and evil are direct results of sin. Always have been, always will be. Started in the Garden of Eden, that's just the way it's been going ever since, right? So, we have this all-loving God. So, how does he play into it? Click. Well, he gave us free will. We can choose to love him, to do the right things, to be good to our neighbors, to love our neighbors as he told us. We can do those things, and we can follow those rules, and we can live well. There's no question. Our life might not be perfect, but we have the free will to choose to follow God. That we have. He gave it to us. If not, we'd be like robots. We'd be programmed. We'd be non-autonomous creatures, as it were. We'd be basically told what to do every day. Every day you get up in the morning, must love neighbor. You know, it's just not going to function right? We're not going to work that way. So, click. So, how does our loving God specifically, show that suffering is just part of life? Well, he came and did it. Completely innocent, totally innocent, sinless man. Lived nothing but the best of a life. Healed people, etc., etc., etc. All these wonderful things. And all he came to do was suffer with us. And boy, did he suffer. If you've ever really given consideration to what a crucifixion would look like, feel like, after a tremendous scourging, and you know the last thing they do to you is strip off all your clothes, right? You're up there, you're naked. They go for the full humility thing. They want to humble you totally. You're left with nothing, right? It's our sense of decency that puts Jesus with a robe over himself or something, right? But that's not the way they were on the cross. Beaten, scourged. That's just the word. Okay, continue. Did you ever notice that Jesus didn't heal everybody while he was here? He really didn't have to. He couldn't in some cases. He said that there's not enough faith here, I think in one town that he was in. But he didn't heal everybody, and every single person that he healed eventually died. No question at all. They did. They all died. They eventually suffered and died, right? He didn't stop that from happening. So why did he heal people? Well, he healed people to prove who he was. I can control this. I can share it with you, but I can also control it. Please choose to follow me. That was what he was doing. Okay? Okay. This one, I need my bag of tricks. Hang on one second. I forgot my props. Okay.
Do you need a demonstrator?
Okay, so here are our responses. Don't look at that. Okay. Don't look at the man behind the curtain. Okay, so our responses. I'm told that the creation of everything that exists can be explained by natural forces. We don't need a God to create. I don't need a God to create. Do you need a God to create? Maybe, maybe not. Is that right? Okay, so they believe they don't need a God to create. Everything can be explained by natural forces. Click. So our responses are, again, first we have to love them. There might be a reason we do not understand as to why they believe what they believe. Most likely there is. And a lot of it deals with suffering, strangely enough, or a guiltiness. They want to live the way they want to live. Because as soon as you understand God, what does that mean? It puts an obligation on you. You have to live a certain way now. Well, I don't want to live that way, right? Well, if I don't want to live that way, I'm going to choose to believe there is no God. And I'll come up with any reason I can to justify what I want to do, right? So that really smart guy that I talked about, that's St. Thomas Aquinas, and he's come up with 5 different ways to look at proving God through inference. In other words, we see what he does, okay? Can you prove to me that the wind exists?
Yes.
How do you prove to me that the wind exists?
The way it affects things.
What it does. You can't see the wind, right? You can't. I mean, there are molecules, right?
Yeah.
Mostly nitrogen, etc., that are floating around in the air. We get that. We understand that. You can't see it. Does it exist? Absolutely. And we see it and we understand it because of what it does. It's the same thing with God. So we're going to talk about those in just a minute. Next. I wanted to throw out, I cannot in 15 minutes tell you everything there is and win every argument or tell you how to win every argument, but I can give you some of the terminology that is being used right now to help people turn back and away from atheism and back to God. Okay? One is intelligent design, that word. We're going to talk about that in a minute. It basically means that if you see this mousetrap, okay? You got a mousetrap. Do you think this mousetrap put itself together?
No.
Not a chance, right? Mousetrap can't put itself together. It's inanimate, right? Well, it's made up of molecules and such like that, chemicals, etc. It couldn't have possibly put itself together. So what we look at is it has intelligent design. Somebody with intelligence designed this, right? That's what we believe. We understand it because, well, we didn't see somebody make it, right? I bought it at the store. They didn't see somebody make it either. They got it from the salesman. Nobody saw anybody make this except the machine that was making it back in Catchmaster, right? They saw somebody make it. Other than that, we haven't. But we can say, we can look at it and we can say, you know what, that's a pretty complicated little item. Somebody made it. Intelligence was used, okay? One more. And the next one is irreducible complexity. A lot of big words there, but it basically, in a nutshell, that which exists can't exist without all its parts. Okay? So, I had to take one of the springs off my mousetrap. This mousetrap has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts. If it didn't have the latch, it wouldn't catch too many mice. If it didn't have that, it's not going to hurt the mice. If it didn't have the trigger, there's not going to be a place for you to put your cheese. It's going to be nothing for the mice to come in. Peanut butter works better, actually. Just so you know. Having caught a few mice. The spring mechanism, if it wasn't there, right, wouldn't work. The wood actually serves a really good purpose because it holds everything together. There's at least 3 staples here that hold all the parts together. If any one part of that was gone, it could not function. That's what irreducible complexity means, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute too. Irreducible complexity is just coming out now as to the forefront in the last probably about, give or take, 10 years. It's a bit of a catchphrase and it works, okay? It does. First of all, it throws people off guard. What does that mean? But you have to be able to understand it too and explain it. Basically, that which exists needs all its parts to function. Simple, right? Okay. So, one of the arguments against God is that science says he doesn't exist. Science. Science stand for? What's the word mean? Sure.
All the different types of sciences you do, like
No.
geology and stuff.
Not quite. The word science, what do you think? What does it mean? What does the word science mean? Knowledge. That's what science, that's what the word means itself. Science means knowledge. It's the science of geology, the science of theology, the science of whatever. It is the knowledge that we have about something. The science of physics, whatever. Okay? So, about the Catholic Church, or the Christians, throughout time, Christians have promoted, and Catholics necessarily, have promoted science more than any other single entity in the world. There are more renowned old saints that have been making scientific discoveries forever and ever. The church is all about knowledge. That's what they want. That's what they did. They started the university system. They started it. There was no higher education in our whole world prior to the start of the university system, or in the Western world, I should say. Right? Education worldwide. That's one of the biggest things they do. They start schools. The nuns' convent starts a school. Another place starts a school. They do this. This is what they are. There's a multitude of teaching orders that have surfaced over the years. So we have people like Nicholas Copernicus, René Descartes, Blaise Pascal, Gregor Mendel, and Albert Einstein, and Father George Lemaitre. Anyway, these guys all believe in God. And they made incredible discoveries all about our planet, all about the world, and they still believe in God. Right? So what did they do? I don't know, because it's on the next sheet. Hang on a second. Okay. So Copernicus, 1500s, He was an astronomer. And he basically said that the planets were circling the sun. He was a Catholic canon, which is somewhat like a pagan. René Descartes, 1600s, the father of modern philosophy, also a Catholic, a good practicing Catholic. Blaise Pascal, physicist, probability theory, also a Catholic. Gregor Mendel, you might have heard of him. In the 1800s, he's the father of genetics, right? He's the one who did all his peas experiments, right? And he crossbred the peas and found out how you genetically have a predisposition towards blue or brown eyes, or whatever, okay? Albert Einstein was Jewish, lived his Jewish faith, right? Never believed that Christ was never believed that the Christ came. However, he was a Jew. He believed in God. That's what Jews do, just so you know. Same God. That's it. Father George Lamarck. I'm sure I'm just beating the heck out of that French name because I really don't know how it's pronounced.
Oh, the T silent.
And you were talking, Thomas, about the Big Bang?
Yep.
That's the guy who coined the phrase. Father George there is the one that said, you know what? I think the universe started with the Big Bang. And everybody said, whoa, we like that idea. Right? He was a Catholic priest. He's the guy. He's the guy that started the ball rolling. And everybody else has kind of tried to take it away and steal it from him and change its meaning. And there are numerous others. I've been reading quite a few books over the last little while about a multitude of Christian scientists who believe in God and have no problem. They don't take it away from their belief in science. Okay. Thomas Aquinas, we'll just get to him. Motion and cause. He came up with 5 different ways that he proved God by inference, right? One of them was that there has to be something that starts something moving, okay? So if I said to you, first of all, actually, I'll go to cause first. Where did this tennis ball come from?
Someone who hasn't answered, maybe.
Someone who?
Hasn't answered.
A factory, okay. So what was it before it was a tennis ball? Bunch of chemicals. Maybe some green fuzzy chemicals. I don't know what they make it out of. I have no idea what they make it out of. But I know that it was created by something. Well, what made the first rock? What made the first tree? Something causes something else. Everything that is existing was caused by something, right? He gets deep into this philosophical thing in regards to what he means by that, right? But he calls it causality, right? And the idea is that everything needs to be started by something else. It has to come from something. So, in essence, to have that first thing that existed, you needed something that wasn't caused. That thing that wasn't caused, we commonly refer to as God. He caused the first thing, okay? Secondly, he talks about motion. If you look around, we're in motion. Any of you have done any of the, I know you're just sitting there, but there's actually motion all the time. Our world's turning, the sun's spinning a little bit, we're doing this, we're orbiting, we've got the planets, we've got everything is moving.
Even the atoms themselves are moving.
Even the atoms inside you, which are also moving. So what started the movement? Okay, so I need 2 volunteers. Not you, not you. Would you like to volunteer? Jose? Okay. And just help me bring this table. Okay. 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 And I need 1 more volunteer. Emma, can I have you? Okay. 2 balls. You each get 1 ball. Okay. And I want you to find, click, find 4 ways to move that ball. 4 ways. Now, using your body, or any body parts, is 1 way. Okay? So what do you think? Find 4 ways to move the ball. Each. You got to find 4, and you got to find 4. Okay. And do it. Okay, so the first one is? Okay, so you lifted the table. So what happened there? What moved the ball? You moved the table. So you were the primary mover. Here's the secondary mover. But what actually rolled the ball? What caused the ball to roll, do you think? Gravity, absolutely. So something moved the ball. Okay, so find another way. Okay, so you can move the ball. You didn't touch it, right? So what was the cause of that ball moving?
My breath.
Your breath, which I'm sure was minty fresh. But, so you caused it, but there was a secondary mover, right? So you created the air in your lungs, blew it out. So there's a secondary mover, was the air, and it rolled it. So, what else? Okay, you're spinning it, but it says you're still using your body. Okay? Yeah, try.
Like using something else.
Okay,
Like,
there. That's your 4 ways. You've found 4 ways to move the ball. A secondary cause, or your primary cause, or using gravity. Okay, thank you, volunteers. That was wonderful.
Give him a hand. Woo-hoo!
Okay. So the balls move because somebody moved them. Now the ball, as Thomas Aquinas says, has the potential to move. All things, all things, all things have the potential to move, but they have to be actualized. So he uses the words potential and actualization. So the ball has the potential, I am actualized, I move it, it becomes actualized. It moves. It accepts its potential to move. Those are the 2 terms that are used by Thomas Aquinas. The potential and the actual. So everything has the potential, but only things that are pushed get the actuality, right? So there has to be somebody to start the push. And way back when, it doesn't make any difference how many billions of years you go, something had to start the Big Bang. Something. So there's arguments about when it is, and it's billions, or it's millions, or it's tens of thousands. But something started it going. And that's what Father George was talking about. He saw this and saying, well, we've all determined that the universe was created at a particular time. And it was. This is what all science says now. So they said, okay, well, how did it start? The Big Bang. Okay, well, that makes sense, and it doesn't make sense all at the same time. Because if it was nothing, it needed a cause. And that's what they're saying. It was nothing, and then became something. Sure sounds like God to me, right? It was non-moving, and it became moving. Sure sounds like it needed a primary mover, and most people refer to him as God. Okay, make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, that's Thomas Aquinas and his tennis ball theory. Okay, maybe not the tennis ball theory. Okay, click. Okay, that's my buddy Bill. Okay. His little hard hat there. He's good. Yeah. He's been there before. He knows what's coming. Right? He knows what's coming.
He knows the potential.
He has the potential to be squished. And he knows it, and he's taking preparation. Okay, so this one up here is irreducible complexity. A heck of a statement. Okay? Basically, we talked about that earlier. The idea that a thing that needs all its parts to function. Here it is, irreducibly complex. Actually, I removed one of the springs because it was an extra. Right? It evolved, actually. It started like this with one spring, and this other spring found its way.
Life finds a way.
Attached, yes. And attached itself to the mousetrap. Okay, so, all that having been said, Mr. Darwin, who produced The Origin of Species, his idea that we are all evolving at breakneck speed over billions of years, he said, if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down.
I need a break.
So the idea is, if we can prove that something existed with all its parts and had to be formed all at once to function, then, as Darwin said, his theory no longer exists. And it's right, and it's true, and they've proved it, but people keep saying, oh, no, that's not right. No, it's like this. Lots of theories, no facts. So a guy, his name is Michael Behe, recently came up with coined this phrase, irreducible complexity. Okay,
Click.
He's a microbiologist. Okay? Microbiologist, way back in Darwin's time, people looked at the human body, they looked at the ape, and they said, boy, they look the same. I bet you they came from the same place, right? Makes sense. They look the same, right? They said, well, when we get more deeply into them, because at the time they didn't have electron microscopes, they thought that when you got inside the human body into the cells, it would just be globs of something, protoplasm or something, right? and those things. But what they found was something completely different. They found little tiny itty bitty machines, basically. They're mechanical because they're biological, right? But they're just like machines. I install machines for a living. That's what I do. Okay, I'm a millwright, right? And I know a lot about machines. And I have never seen a motor that can turn 10,000 RPM one way, stop, and turn 10,000 RPM the other way, like that. We've got motors inside of us that exactly do that, and they're only 1/100,000th of an inch long. You couldn't even see it. You can't see it, right? They are so complex that there is, and they only function, right? They do one thing. They push bacteria along. That's what they do. If it doesn't have all its parts, it wouldn't function. It's that simple. Irreducibly complex. And we've seen it in a multitude of different things. So, Mr. Darwin, whose theory has never been proved, still has a theory that's never been proved. Now that doesn't mean that evolution doesn't take place, and it does. Things do get better. We see them, the species change, etc. We know that. But we also know there's limitations to it. So, I'd like 2 volunteers. Steve. Sean, would you like to volunteer? Okay, I want you to close your eyes. Come to the table. Close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. Okay, on this table, you are natural force. You are the natural forces in the universe. Okay? Okay. Without talking, without seeing, I want you to build a mousetrap. No, that's not true, because you don't even know what you're doing. Remember? Because you don't know what's on the table. Close your eyes. You don't know what's on the table. You don't know what you're building, because that's what it is. It's random forces. It's blind chance. Right? Blind chance is supposed to have built everything around us. Everything. Right? So Steve and Sean, all I want you to do is separate the stuff in that pile into 2 equal piles. No talking, no looking. Start. 2 equal piles. Natural forces. So you have to have half as all the parts in one pile and half in the other pile. Keep working. Come on, natural forces.
Continue your random powers.
Okay. All right, have you done it? What? Okay, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, volunteers. You didn't accomplish it.
Good job,
So
Sean!
definitely worth. Sean
I
was a
told
greedy
Sean.
natural force. He wanted
Yeah,
all
you're
the
like-
parts to him. Okay? That's basically what we've been told is happening out there. Random forces, blind to what they're making, and blind to what they're doing, are creating everything. I like to think it's God. That makes way more sense. Intelligent design makes way more sense than blind, random chance. Okay,
Click.
click. Other arguments. Your church sucks. Therefore, your God sucks, and I don't need him. Simple.
Ooh.
Your church has done bad things, right?
Want me to check that?
It's another text. No, that's it. And this is an argument that's used, okay? Your church has done bad things, and they believe in God, therefore your God must be wrong. Right? It's a very simple argument, but has absolutely nothing to do with God. It doesn't. Do we believe that the church is full of saints?
Yeah.
Are there
Yeah.
sinners in the church?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm one. No question about it, right? I know I am. I know the church itself isn't perfect. It has perfect doctrine, right? It's been given some perfection by God, right? But we know that everybody in it isn't perfect. We know that for sure. So, yeah, occasionally, people who are in the church do bad things. No question about it. Click. Your Bible is wrong. Genesis is a myth, therefore your God must be wrong, right? Must be. Well, the church actually teaches about Genesis, right? It doesn't say, yes, it's exactly true. No, it's telling a story, right? We believe certain aspects are absolutely true. But what the color of the plants in the Garden of Eden were, we do not know. We don't know what flora and fauna were living in there. We just don't. We don't know if it was actually a fig leaf or not. We don't know. It could have been poison ivy, and boy, wouldn't that have been fun later. Right? We don't know. We just don't know. So it has a story, right? And it tells a truth. And that's what it does. And so does our church. Our church tells a truth. The Bible tells a truth about us, about our existence. Click. And the last argument, there's bad people in the church, they believe in God, therefore your God must be wrong. Somewhat akin to the first argument, right? Church is doing bad things, therefore your God's wrong, or the Bible's wrong, therefore your God's wrong, or bad people are in the church, therefore your God's wrong. Simple. So how do you combat these types of arguments? Click. Know your faith so you can defend it. Okay? That's a key. That's key to understanding how to defend and love other people. Know your faith so you can live it. You're going to be asked to defend it. You will be asked to defend it. Trust me. I'm now 53 years old and I've had to defend my faith repeatedly. Okay? Last one, know the truth so you can share it. There is a truth, right? There is a truth. Know it. And this wasn't even dealing with Jesus or the Trinity or anything like that. This is just about God particularly, right? And how we live based on what he's given us. Okay? And that's the end of the show.
All right, give him a hand.
Thank you.